this morning, I thought.
I will call the November 2025 meeting of the Kickapoo Area School Board to order, and we'll start with roll call, please, Marla.
Paul Schrader.
Here.
Janet Mathis.
Here.
Earl Wallace.
Here.
Rich James. Oh. I don't think he's gonna make it at all, it looks like. Isaac Wallace.
Here.
Scott Walker.
Here. You've had the agenda in your hands for a bit. I'll entertain a motion. Oh, sorry. Affirmation of proof of publication of the agenda. Kim.
I, Kimberly Johnson, hereby certify that notice of the Kickapoo Area School District November 12th, 2025 regular school board meeting was published in accordance with state law.
Thank you very much. I'll then entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Earl, second by Bo. Thank you to approve tonight's agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Audience visitors and board members. Looks like we have student council representatives here for a report. Ladies, take it away.
Hi, my name is Braylon.
My name is Beth.
We are members of the Kickapoo High School Student Council. It has been a great school year so far. We'll be focused on a variety of subjects and areas and clubs throughout the year. Keeping school board updates and keeping things happening in the classroom with extracurricular activities.
Middle school science, 8th grade is busy learning about motion and forces. They are in the lab evaluating the relationship between weight and mass, friction with various surfaces, and how net forces affect motion by rolling bowling balls across the floor.
Middle school 6th grade life skills. 6th grade life skills students learned about trustworthiness and respect through a partner trust maze, small large group scenarios, visits to pre-K, 1st grade classes to build trust and respect, and writing and performing skits demonstrating respectful versus disrespectful behaviors and an impact on each other.
For high school math, 11 high school females attended the Women in STEM Career Day at UW-Platteville and were introduced to different pathways involving biology, chemistry, math, and engineering. The high school math team just competed at the math contest at UW-Platteville on November 5th. Results will be announced soon if they haven't already.
High school science. Earth science students are entertaining minerals, rocks, and soil units. They just conducted a lab outside on the soil types and layers. Anatomy and physiology. Students are finishing up on the integumentary it's skin by researching and presenting a presentation on skin conditions and diseases. AP biology students are almost finishing up with unit on cells and cell structures. They recently conducted a lab finding salt concentration in potato and finding different concentrations of salt water. Biology students are finishing up on their first unit on biological molecules. They have tested several different foods to identify molecules that exist. Physics students are using combination of videos and online graphical analysis to analyze changes in motion. They have recently taken videos of an activity of choice, starter block, etc., rolling force object, elastic poppers, throwing a football, and upload them to Vineyard's graphical analysis system. From there, each group is developing graphical and mathematical representations of changes in motion. Chemistry students have now completed several labs activities building on their ability and confidence to use laboratory equipment and processes. They are also introduced into chromatography and concepts of capillary action. Next stop is the periodic table and atomic table.
In high school Spanish, Spanish 1 has researched and created country in a container projects about each of the Spanish-speaking countries and created skits using basic Spanish greetings. Spanish 2 studied calendar terms, learned how to tell time in Spanish, and delivered mock weather forecast presentations for Spanish-speaking cities. The senior class, seniors had fun participating in their last homecoming week. They planned a successful homecoming dance with the theme A Night in Paris. 120 high school students came and had a blast. Juniors had a great time decorating and participating in homecoming week. They also hosted their annual 5K fundraiser with a new costume aspect this year. They will now focus on preparing for their junior prom this spring.
Drama Club. Miss Nelson and Miss Wallace are discussing possibilities for the play and practices. These will begin December 1st. High School Student Council. Student Council members welcome back students bringing with long locker stickers and mints. We had a busy start to the year organizing homecoming week. We brought back the bonfire to kick off the week, chose exciting dress-up days, and also brought back the lip sync. We now are going to start preparing our fundraisers that include Gobblegrams, Holiday, and Valentine's.
Choir and band. It's been a great start to the year. Many thanks to all those who supported our musical James and the Giant Peach. It was a blast and so many wonderful memories were made. Middle school choir had their first performance at the Veterans Day program this week and did a wonderful job as well. High school band wrapped up their marching season in style by marching in the Horse and Colt Show Parade and an amazing halftime performance with lots of audience participation at homecoming. And a wonderful performance at the Veterans Day program. Middle school band and sixth grade band are both progressing nicely with their music reading ability and musical independence in preparation for the winter concert. Finally, the pizza fundraiser was a huge success. As expected in a trip year, we broke our previous record of 2,919 pizzas by making a whopping 3,283. This equates to over $16,000 allocated to the students' account for this year's trip and future trips for our current middle school students. It's an enormous amount of work with many, many people helping, and we can't thank everyone enough for this incredible support.
Yearbook. We celebrate National Yearbook Week in October with various social media posts to advertise the sale of both the middle school and high school yearbook, along with spotlighting our yearbook staff. Local photographers Kelly Swartz came in to talk to the yearbook staff and photography about planning another visit with the students to work one-on-one. Fall sports page deadlines are approaching and will be submitted before Thanksgiving.
Wonderful. Thanks. Any questions before they disappear?
Oh, no, say all night. Didn't know that, did you?
I just had, they mentioned the Veterans Day program, and my husband and I were here for that. Eric did a nice job of emceeing again this year, and thank you for hosting that. I think it's really good. We then went down to the Legion for the lunch, and they had a little program there too. And just wanted to pass on that several of the veterans and the members and the speaker who was here all commented on how the behavior of the students was so great and so respectful, that when you're there for a program like that, that is not always the case from what they've seen. They really appreciated that, and the staff that was here too. And several of the kids did stop and say thank you to these veterans, especially the older ones on their way out to in. So nice. They were impressed. So nice. Good.
Thanks, Janet. What grade are you two in?
I'm a senior.
Junior.
Senior, junior? Excellent job. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Good
them.
stuff. Anybody else sign up? In terms of
You have to stay. You guys can go. Yeah. You have to.
See you tomorrow. And Aaron had a talk.
Watch out for the brown things.
Oh, yeah, you too.
board members, anything? All right, then we'll move on to item 5, expense vouchers and receipts. Any comments or questions or months?
Make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Motion by Janet, second by Isaac to approve. And just one quick comment or question. I saw the Helen Griffin payout, quarterly payout was 40. Is that higher than normal? I always thought it was like 180,000. No idea.
It's 41,529.
I thought it was higher than.
I'm guessing interest rates going up.
Stock market's up, it might, yeah.
I'm guessing it's based on the interest rate, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 6, the consent agenda includes only a few things tonight. Minutes from our October 8th regular school board meeting. And also the October 28th special board meeting. And nicely, and I love reading these, a number of donations. Ruby Mary donated $50 to help feed the musical students during practice. Trish Helgerson, $50 towards the digital sign. Jacob and Brittany Lidovice, $220 for the lunch fund. Rosie and David Lepley, $25, again for the digital sign in memory of Bobby Young. And Laverne and Alice Phillips, $100 for the lunch fund. Any comments or discussion on those few items? I'll entertain a motion then to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Isaac, second by Bo. All in favor? Aye. Couple items on tonight's action agenda then. You can see in the note, the need for a new middle school and high school copier. And the price is included in the notes there, $6,246.
This isn't the same printer we talked about a few months ago, though. I mean, this is in the budget for this year. Did we just buy, was it the
We did
office
just-
printer or something?
Yeah, we purchased the office one.
That's right, but
I commented on the middle school, high school
Right.
one. It was constantly broken down. Oh, yeah, and it came in a lot
Cheaper.
cheaper.
I was
than
gonna
what
ask if we had to do,
anticipated.
no.
So really, yeah, 2 for 50.
It's definitely necessary.
Yeah, for efficiency.
Hey, heard that.
What'd they say?
Do those get used any less in the digital age where everything's Chromebook?
They probably should, but it's, there's some
Probably
things that's
still-
gonna be hard to get people.
Yeah, I would say some, but there's still plenty.
Not as much as you people think.
A lot of old teachers.
Yeah, there's some.
Well, say that. Elemental thing, for.
It's about tactile learning.
Yeah.
Well, they still have to learn in kindergarten and
Yeah.
first grade.
Yeah,
We don't want them on
I was
screens
thinking
all
of
the time.
too.
They don't have.
Hey,
There's certainly less, without a doubt, but there's still.
I think
Well,
the only
indeed.
thing that got me was looking at the overage on how many sheets there was. I mean, it was,
A lot of
I don't
stuff.
remember why it was 6 or not, but it was.
Yeah.
well into 5, didn't hit the 100,000.
Oh,
That's the extras,
what did I tell you, 2 million?
overage.
The guy was fixing the elementary one the other day and I said, cause it took him a while, and he had to vacuum out and I was like, what are we doing here? I said hand-to-hand combat and he goes, it's just gone over 2 million copies. Wow. What he said, I'm like, I guess he needs a little pickup on it. Crazy.
Well, the need is evident, and it is an action agenda item, so anybody want to move to?
I'll make a motion to approve the copier that is dated there for 246.
I'll second that.
Motion by Earl, second by Janet. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Second item on the action agenda tonight. The agreement with Richland Center Schools, and this is in the packet. Get a moment to review it, and I think this is the second year of this. Or third?
Yeah, we had one last year too.
Yeah.
We also have the cost of the transportation. Is it just one student to
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
there?
And I guess the administration supports this, it's that in the best interest of that student.
Yep.
So again, an action agenda item, so if anybody comfortable enough with the agreement, which I remember, it's pretty much verbatim from last year. Right? Go ahead and make the motion.
Make the motion to approve this.
I'll second that.
Motion by Janet, second by Isaac. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion passes. Only one item then under our informational agenda tonight. This is kind of a fun one always, the 24-25 assessment result. Anybody want to lead discussion on this?
Let's start with.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll do elementary and go to middle school.
So if you dig into the elementary one, I think it's the first one. I'll just give you the highlights here quick that I wrote down. If you look at the overall score, it was 76, which last year was 71. You can find any person that can really explain how the scores change from year to year, would probably be a millionaire, but the elementary one went up, which was nice to see. It's kind of broken down in the elementary into 4 parts: achievement, growth, target group, and then the on track to graduate, which not really worried about the little kids on track to graduate. If you looked at the achievement, so that would be on the second page where it's got performance level by years, and it's got the English language arts and the mathematics. If you look 24-25, we made improvements. Our lowest kids, the developing, dropped a bunch, and they average that over 3 years in both math and reading. So that's good growth. We're doing the right things. We're going in the right direction. If you flip to the next part, which is the growth score, and all the growth score and all this goes together to get your overall. That line right there is they figure average growth is 3.0. And if you look at reading, we're at 3.9, almost 4, and in math, we're above the state average in our growth scores. And it makes sense to me that, yeah, we made a really nice jump in language arts because that's the last 2 years where we spend a lot of time with a lot of resources. And the next one, what we're working on right now is trying to make some of those same changes in math. So part of the reason the elementary score looks good is because, or exceeds expectations, is because of the growth scores. You flip to the next part, which is the target group outcomes. And the way I understood this when I dug into it is this is the growth of your lowest kids. So if you think of your special ed kids, and when you look back at the beginning part of how many kids went from developing and moved up, we've done a really nice job with those kids in that group. And they've shown a lot of growth, and that goes with the growth score, which is kind of bumped that up. Like I said, when I looked at the on-track graduation stuff, we're a long ways away from that. So I didn't dig into that too much. As the elementary, and what I kind of told the staff was the takeaways I took from it is that our growth scores are really good. Our target groups are really good, and that's the same group of kids that we spend a lot of time, and that you have as a board, your resources into Mrs. Von Ruden, our ability to do win time and other stuff to really target those kids has really started to pay off, I think. So when I look at that overall, yeah, I'm proud of those growth scores. I think, and the on target stuff, and I told the staff they've done really good stuff. The area to improve on is obviously our achievement scores. We want to make that higher. So that's the next step as we look at with the stuff like we talked about with the Act 20 and youth line, the other things we're putting in. The hope is that starts to pay off and that achievement score starts to go up. But I can answer some questions about them. You want a lot of depth, but there's only so much I can do because Kim has really dug into this and we thought that this would be a better way to share with you where we are as a district instead of comparing the 12 kids who are in 3rd and 4th grade at Lafarge. It shows what we're doing as a district and where the especially in elementary, the stuff that we've really kind of focused on, I think the report card is showing it's starting to show there. And it is in the growth and it is in those target groups and those kids that we have, that we're getting a lot of extra help to. And then we'll keep working on the other stuff.
I really liked the one there. It really shows, like you said, the developing area, how much less that is in both areas and how it's expanded down advanced and meeting area, you know, everything.
And
we took them off.
Yeah,
Got
and
them out of the group sheet.
that's what we're trying to do. And remember now that as they rotate through,
Yeah.
that could change next year. Oh, yeah, you know,
Well, and they could change this.
Yeah.
next year too. That's one of the other.
yeah, and that's the 2 years. And those 2 years are the 2 years since they changed the forward exam. So that, at least those two are feel pretty good about, but I mean, really, when you look at it, it's moving those kids from developing. And your wife's had a huge part of that, and I've told her that. I mean, that's a big group of those kids that she works with a lot, that they're, especially last year on the 5th grade test. Should have wrote it down. I think there were, like the year before, there were 9 kids who were in that, down to 4. There were 3 or 4 kids that bumped themselves up. And it could have been by a question, it could have been, but they bumped themselves up. The hope is that continues, but it's kind of where we are.
And when you mentioned that we did well in growth, and that's really gives you benefit in 2 areas, because that's also 36% of your overall.
Yeah.
Or too.
Yeah, those,
So
that pie.
that's where they wanted you to grow. I mean, they mean whoever defends. what's
Yeah.
important there, but that's why that one's more, because that must have been.
Yeah, for a little.
I think they identify that because of our population.
Yes.
And our high, yeah,
That's how we saw it.
So, it's, yeah, realistically, acknowledging that the population coming in and then the expectation of teacher, and it's nice to know that our staff have put their resources and it's making a huge impact on our student body, which is nice.
That's all I got.
All right, so to kind of offshoot that, and as you look at the report card, ours is a bit different. And so when you look at the score, and Andy and Kim and I have had these conversations, and that's kind of I don't want to say the tough part, but when you look at the report card score and then you look at the actual scores from the achievement level, when you compare yourself, they sometimes don't always exactly align. And so from a standpoint of how the students did and just the actual achievement and the state average, we had a good mix of things. We were above the state average on the 9th and 10th pre-ACT test. Had a number of classes and subjects above in the middle school grade levels as well. But as you can see, our growth part is where we really need to improve along with the target group aspect. So that's the biggest aspect as we look as they get older to continue to focus on. And we're going to have to look at just curriculum and some of those areas of that growth pattern and some of the lower achieving students to really try to increase those levels. Because as you can see, when you look at the percentage, and that was the interesting part looking at a lot of report cards, is that achievement might have been high or good, but if growth was not, or vice versa, you can see where that pie chart really straightens, it is different. And so that's the part where, again, I guess it's depending how you look at it, but looking at the report card, the overall score, there's certainly those aspects that we need to continue to focus and try to achieve more growth, and with the target, the lowest achieving kids. Math continues to be in one that we've spent a lot of time on to continue to focus on. Last year's 6th grade, this year's 7th grade, scores have not been great. And so there's a number of kids in that class that are special ed students that we need to continue to really focus on and work with to try to increase those scores and get them up. So that's part of the goal really. And again, trying to work with everybody, but there's a number of students in that 7th grade class to really try to focus and work with to get to that point. And as Andy said, there's a number of them at times, and this year's freshman is a great example where as last year's 8th graders, they did not do as well on the test. The year before they did. You get some of those situations where you have 4 or 5 kids and they're right on that line between proficient or not proficient. And one test they might do it and the next year they might not. And it's may seem like it's only 4 or 5 kids, but when they're basically 3% or 4% of the overall, you go from 40th percentile to a 52nd or 55th, and that, makes a big difference. So, there's really, I guess, nothing I can say other than, certainly, we need to keep working towards achievement overall, but, working towards and doing pretty well in that area, but really need to continue to work with the growth and really working with those target group kids and those lower level kids. So
I don't exactly know how to ask this, but every year when we look at this, elementary exceeds expectations. I know it's been every year. I remember looking at this for a couple of years. These formats haven't been around that long. And I don't think the high school or middle school, high school area has ever not met expectations.
Right,
So I
right.
think that's it. But it seems like it must be harder to improve. And I'm what's different about what you're gonna have to do than what they kind of already achieved at the elementary level? Because
I think if you looked, and that's again part of the discussion we had, there's really kind of a mix, and it's not with everyone. But typically, characteristically, your biggest growth type scores are going to come at your elementary level type levels, because they're learning right away, coming up through the ranks as they're starting to learn and go. I had the same question, Janet, and I looked at, other schools of, okay, and oftentimes their elementary score was quite a bit higher than their middle school, high school score, or their middle school score. And that biggest element was the growth aspect of it, was that. To give you an exact specific to why that is, other than, I think to a point, kids get where, I don't want to say they, cap out on their learning, but they get to a point where they continue to grow and grow. And you get to a point as a freshman or sophomore, and, I don't think that comes as much at a rapid rate. You guys can give a thought.
Well, I think with the way that they have designed this, it's meant more specifically to identify the population of kids that you have, and then put the weight in that expectation. So I think now with the different resources that we have available, we can take a look at this, and we've had conversations now, where are the areas, and seriously take a look at where are the areas that we have a gap. And what can we do with that? And I think that I met with Lisa, and bringing some of this AI, some different platforms there, because, the math standards are so vast. And so what specifically are they testing on? And so now we have the tools to really dig in and understand what specifically are we missing. Are the students missing in that instruction piece, or them receiving and conceptualizing? We can can dig further into what's going on with the learning, and then make some adjustments, and then see if we can I think we're all here committed to continuous improvement. So just really, we can't go back and understand, I guess, what or how, but we can move forward and just identify some areas that we really want to focus and make some changes, and see if we can impact some growth, using more of the tools that are available, I guess.
Well, and there's also part of it, I think, that if with some of the changes that the elementary is trying to do to catch kids with Act 20, that if we are able to get kids caught up sooner, that their scores will be higher, and that will carry over into middle school and high school. Because kids spend a lot of, we've talked about, and I showed you that data where, we had that spike at the end of kindergarten where all of a sudden we have high risk kids, and it carries over into first and second grade. If the thing we're doing works, we won't have to do U-Fly in third grade anymore. We won't have to do U-Fly in second grade, because kids will have those foundations. Amy Clements and I spent, thank God we hired her, for the math stuff. We were looking at standards today. That's kind of what I was doing before you were here. because she's done some of this at Viroqua, where we can focus on the things that they need and get them sooner, so they have a better foundation going into fourth, fifth, and sixth grade. And Aaron there won't be seventh graders upstairs who, I never understood this, and I'm only gonna get so high because I don't have a foundational understanding of what these math concepts are. And if the elementary can get that, where they have that going up, it's only going to raise everything everywhere, is what I think. And that's on the elementary to get the base started there.
Well, the math one was the one I thought of too, that I think has to be harder at the senior high or I mean, they take these tests all the way through grade 12 then?
Their junior year is their last one,
Or
the
last
ACT,
year, okay.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, because I can see, but yet, as far as achievement, you know, it says this school score was the same or higher as 54%. So, well, you know,
Right,
we'd like it to be better, but hey, I
Yeah,
can look
yeah.
at that. But then there's one where we're only better than like 20% of the schools in that without that. And
right.
that's road, but
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, there's no doubt the growth part.
but I
We got to continue to, and you know, like Andy said, I think, what's that?
can see that it would be harder.
I think so.
Just-
I think you know, I think maybe the setup, you know, we do have the interventionists that we have now, but like we've talked about, that has really changed a lot with the number of kids and, you know, it really has, that focus has changed a bit of kids who really need more intervention to an almost alternative aspect with a number of
Yeah.
kids. And so, you know, having a scenario like a Sherry or, you know, somebody where they can really go, and we're going to try to utilize that more as much as we can and work with, you know, the special ed teachers to have that time. But it is, you know, this is a little bit different at times. We can't pull one of them out and, you know, we can, but it's not maybe as, I don't want to say as efficient, you know, possibly with going with Sherry and working, but yeah, it is. And Kim and I had that conversation this morning, and you look at it two ways, and you know, sometimes your mind is just trained to look at a number, and you know, you look at from a proficiency level, and okay, you know, there's a lot of good positive things, and then you look at it from a number on a report card, and it's like not as good. And I said to Kim, when the report cards came out yesterday, we're obviously in that political realm of things, and one of the politicians had put a report out on Facebook about DPI and the report card system and said, explain this to me. A school scored 13% proficiency in ELA, and they were an exceeding expectation school. But because of the growth, I'm sure there is no question that was true. And so then it's hard to look at it and be like, okay, how do you know, I don't know that there is a right or a wrong, because they're both right, but they're both in two different aspects. And like I said to Kim, you know, if you're rating two sports teams and one of them has a ton of wins, but they didn't improve from the last year, but you've got another one and they didn't win any games, but the next year they won 5, and you know, it looks like but yet they're not the same type situation. And so it is complex, and like Andy said, trying to understand the scoring in some of this, and I've gone through and looked at a whole bunch of different schools and their report cards and looked at some of them, and I showed Kim a couple today, and I'm like, look at this, like their achievement is like literally like nothing, but their growth is huge, and they're scoring at 78 or 79 on the report card score. And so it's, again, there's a mix of things, and
But I can see why the state looks at the growth.
oh yeah, they want, the growth is an important part,
You
for
know,
sure,
you really do wanna.
without a doubt. And I'm not,
But
don't get me
I
wrong, I'm not,
appreciate what you guys are doing. I'm not
yeah,
saying anything wrong.
yeah,
with it.
no, and I'm not saying that growth part isn't important, without a doubt, it certainly is. It's just sometimes deceiving when you look at the report card score versus an achievement level, you know what I mean? Maybe they were in comparison to their peers, but they didn't grow, or they were higher, or,
And
you
I-
know.
just some of the other things we've talked about with test taking, by the time you get your students to be sophomores in high school, that should pick that age. You're gonna have a harder time convincing them that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some third graders that don't put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, I mean.
I got it. I'm done. It took you 8 minutes. How fast did you click?
You know, coach them up.
Good try.
Aaron and I talked about that too, where, you know, just their own personal effort or understanding, and then really being able to tell the story and narrate or to do our job to build in those soft skills and the, you know, what are the benefits based of education? What are the benefits of graduating at Kickapoo and beyond a test score, which in the future, maybe there's more purpose to them to put more effort into, you know, but
Well, I'll be honest, when we discussed the AGR report, that is really compelling to me because it's really easy to understand the link between the numbers you're looking at and what happens in the classroom. Every year we look at this, I'm like, it's hard for me to understand the link between what's happening in the classroom and that green column. You know, the way they compile data and present it, to me, it just leaves. Yeah, okay. I just don't know how to interpret this whole report, eh?
Yeah.
Honestly, my impression is there's a set of cubicles in DPI with people charged with developing some way to assess schools statewide, and they've done a pretty job, but I don't really know how to.
Yeah. Council, they
How to
so they
take
came up with
this-
something, but
How to take this information and say, oh my God, we have to do this. I'm like, we're doing okay, and
yeah. The other thing I'd point out here that nobody's mentioned, but the post-secondary prep, I thank you to whoever got this straightened out, so we got credit.
Hey, Marla, but we got it right.
So we got credit for our industry recognized credentials, which I knew had been there, and a few years ago when we first saw this at CEFA, we had an absolute. And we weren't the only ones, but you know, it took a couple of years to get it, but anyway.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
other thing I never noticed before was this for arts participation.
Yeah,
That might-
yeah, that, the music.
We look really good on that.
Well, yeah, for sure. The one thing, with the industry recognized credentials, and we're gonna have to kind of do a cost analysis and an educational analysis with it. So typically what has happened is CISA has given us, they've had this traveling toolkit and they drop it off at different schools and you get to keep it free for a couple weeks. And that's when you utilize that to test these kids out. They're now going to be charging, I think it's $4,500 if you want to use the kit. And so it's really changed the dynamics of the schools where they're looking at, okay, so we now used to have this for free and we could test these kids out, get them, you know, the credentials and get $1,000 back per kid that is certified. And now they're going to charge $4,500 to use it. And they won't let you use your own, even if you have your own equipment to certify them, you have to use their tools. So there's been some discussions with CISA right now of just kind of that change and why that is. And as you can imagine, a lot of schools
So
are
was
like,
that on this year's thing? Was there anything in our?
no, this is just new for this year, like this.
No, but we signed a contract. We agreed on our services for this year.
Oh,
last
yes,
year.
right.
So was the change in there? Were we supposed to have joined some consortium or something?
No,
It wasn't-
it's an extra fee that you have to pay on top of it if you want to do it. So there's a lot of schools asking the same questions we are of this really, you know, this has been this way forever
Have
and
you addressed this with?
You know,
said on
Amy
or?
no, it's
we've been talking to through Tom Martin.
Tom Martin.
Just expressing concern.
I'd go
So
to Jamie and find out.
we will ask that next, but yeah, that was just a change where again,
I
you
know
look
they
at
had
it.
to replace a lot of those kits, but, and the original ones were grants, and they also do more and more of these grants with like 3 districts here, 3 districts there and stuff, and unfortunately, we just don't tend to get into a lot of those because I don't know what, other than we don't do a lot with Richland Center, and they always seem to come up Richland Center and Ithaca. Weston is out there, Weston, I think Weston gets attention than you.
Yeah, we'll follow up and check more. Again, I think lots of people, some of the emails that I've seen that have gone through Ken Cranes that he's.
I'll try to remember to ask about.
A lot of people are asking the same questions and looking at
I'm
the same element of, okay, why are we gonna pay this? Or, you know, where does that end up when you've not had to pay anything to have these kids certified and now you do.
Equipment that we could use, is there some way that equipment is calibrated or something so that they know?
From what I understand from
you got the
Krings,
right equipment? You can go
no,
ahead.
they've said that it has to be their system, their kit of tools that they drop off. So But we'll follow up, but I just wanted to make you aware that's one aspect of that
And-
IRC.
There's multiple kits, you have to pay $4,500 for
Uh,
one, or you?
I think there are different kits, but the one typically we would use, I think
Oh, we just
they're,
use
they
one.
each have a cost. There's different course type kits, but.
Okay.
So we'll check in it, but just, looking at that category that's on the report card to know that, obviously if you gotta pay that amount and you have these kids that, a lot of them, most of them aren't utilizing it per se, other than getting the criteria, and
Okay,
there's
so
an
you're calling
investment.
it an extra fee, and I never hear that or those words that CISA extra fee.
Okay.
We have that agreement, we sign up for what we want. And some of the things don't have a set cost, they have a, so much per, whatever they call a 15-minute interval.
Right.
It's a lot like in some of your spec ed things and stuff we do, or special services, I should say.
But we'll follow up with Tom, and if we don't get we can certainly talk to Jamie and try to understand it, but right now that's the best understanding I have of it, through the emails that have recently been
So I'm
sent,
glad you
but
mentioned this.
just to be aware of it.
Any other thoughts on the report card?
No.
Then we'll move on to reports. Yeah.
Okay, so I did share with you kind of that the step of wanting to kind of survey the community and gather some feedback from the parents, the staff, the students, and community members on what they value most in Kickapoo schools, kind of identify areas of strength and opportunities for growth. How can we capture how our community defines success for our students beyond the test scores? So this feedback is kind of going to help guide like a strategic communication efforts and kind of future district priorities, ensuring that our story is told accurately and meaningfully. And then once I receive all of those results, we will compile them and I will share some of the highlighted themes for the next stage of engagement. So any questions on that specific feedback or the communication to the community to try to garner some information about what do they value? What is a benefits-based education to them? What do they value? It's kind of, I think, when I first started this role, the conversation was around values, and I just really believe values are kind of a shared mission and a good communication piece at decision making. So was that okay? Is there anything you wanted to add, or
Are we gonna see the
didn't I share it?
communication to?
You did. It was on the email, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
so we can just talk in the next few days, kind of more so about that.
I guess the only thing is I did try to look at it and there's at least one spot where you say, and I don't want to go into any more
Yeah.
details here, but I thought there was one spot where it said check all that apply, but you can only actually pick one, so you might want to double check that.
Oh, that check boxes, yeah.
And I'm not an expert on surveys, and I know we used school perceptions and did the survey before the referendum, which was a totally different kind of survey of what we needed,
Yeah,
I worry, and again, I'm not an expert on surveys, I know a lot more about constructing surveys, but I worry that there's so many open-ended questions that I don't know how many people are going to actually sit down and type a response, and I don't know exactly who this is aimed at. But a lot of people aren't going to be comfortable sitting there writing sentences out just with an open sort of, I was wondering if like we used to use like focus groups, I mean, different times Southwest Tech had big
Focus
issues
group,
going
yeah.
on, and you would go out to different communities and do, I don't know, but if you're working with people who design this kind of survey and they say that'll be okay, that's fine, I'm just not sure.
Well, in discussions with, Randy Nelson has kind of really been kind of a John Tanner advocate. We've shared a lot of conversations and I did share it with him. And there's really two avenues to go really. With John Tanner's research, typically the answers will fit into specific themes. So I could identify, and there could just be a quick check on the theme. I kind of wanted to be more authentic and see if I could get more of just their thoughts. But I could
And
mix it
it's
up a
more
little
my
bit more
own
too.
prejudice, because I remember thinking, yeah, I've gotten surveys like this, and this is about the question where I just give up.
You're just not gonna answer. Okay, well, that's good
But
feedback. That's good feedback.
Who are you gonna, who and how are you gonna distribute this? What was the plan in that?
Well, through our Thrill Share, like we can reach all of the families.
Okay.
I was going to check into a mailing or put posters up with a QR code.
That we're looking at the families of the students that are here.
Unless I
We're
go,
not really during this is not. This is, I don't know how to put it, the school community. This is not the
well, if
QR codes isn't gonna.
yeah, I mean, to take that step to kind of do what we had done during the referendum where it went to the entire
Yeah.
community is an investment in that postage.
And it was totally a different kind of survey.
Yeah.
I get that this is more the open-ended and more, and I, I don't think that kind of survey would elicit what you want at all. So I'm
Yeah.
not saying change it to that. I'm just wondering.
But I mean, to your point, yeah, I mean, I think some of the, like, a lot of those upper ones, like, it'd be beneficial just to have maybe some pre-filled options to maybe get some consensus and then have, an other, and then allow people to kind of provide feedback. Just you get.
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that idea too.
response. Cause I feel like you could probably pre-populate those with a half
Yes.
dozen things. And, maybe people then, oh, I didn't think about that, but now you say that's valuable.
Yeah, that's true. I will redesign it because then that fits both. It gives people the opportunity to choose, make a selection and make it quick so that I do get the feedback but then additionally have that option to fill it in
Yeah.
with additional thoughts. Yeah, I can change it up for that.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
And some of these, I know you have like options for like how to communicate and that kind of stuff. It might even be like, probably like rank and order or something like that, just so you can kind of, gauge what the highest two or three, so we know where to kind of double down on your efforts. Because obviously there's not gonna be one choice,
Right.
but having kind of a little bit more of a priority might help you too.
Okay, good feedback. Anything else?
What's the thought in terms of how these results then are used? You talked about core values. Is this beyond that gonna be part of a full
I think-
strategic planning process?
It could initiate that for sure. And I think mainly what I was thinking, there's all this conversation about being able to tell your story. And to be able to take that narrative and communicate all the great things and what do people value. And so just targeting that voice and elevating who Kickapoo is and what they represent and the quality and the success. And just hearing those voices from the students, from the staff, from the parents, from everybody to just get kind of that confirmation that these are the areas, this is what we value, these are the benefits of Kickapoo, and this is what we appreciate. And then that's kind of the voice that goes throughout the land, when vouchers and school choice and even the conversations about what public schools do or what they teach. It kind of helps that narrative.
And I do commend you for authentically really wanting to get what our story is rather than we're gonna make it up here. I mean, we're
Right.
just gonna tell you what it is.
Yeah.
You tell us, yeah.
Well, I think there's value in people feeling like they have a voice, that I matter. And so. Okay.
That's a great.
Okay, I'll keep communicating out and I'll share out those changes with you. The other thing that I can just report on is that we did have our CISA 3 meeting last Friday. And we had a brilliant speaker on AI. And I'm just gonna really get more involved with him because I felt like he really resonated with me about it. And he kind of aligns perfectly with what I believe Kickapoo's next steps in approaching AI thoughtfully and purposefully. The question is really not, should we use AI, but how can AI help us do what matters most for students? Kind of that deeper, better, and more equitable approach. How we balance this new innovation with intention and ensure that technology enhances and not replaces that authentic learning and human connection. And then he will just really kind of guide the policy and teacher guidelines and student education and ethical use. So I really liked his presentation and I'm going to continue. He has 2 more meetings with us. And so I think that will really drive a lot of how we, I kind of really held off and waited until I got kind of this messaging really, because I felt really good about how he was communicating the guidelines and the policy and just bridging all of the great things about AI, how quickly it's all changing, but then all of the different concerns. And I feel just really like understanding AI before we bring it to staff and students. Then we also heard from a gentleman who spoke about the connection between schools and economic development and community vitality. And that's basically all I have to share tonight.
Are we gonna have a board level discussion on AI? And its role in education, because I'm way behind the curve when it comes to this.
First, we need
Okay.
education.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll do that next month. I will plan a presentation.
No, you just go in there, go to ChatGPT and say, please make. It'll
And
take,
they actually do that for us here at the meeting.
yeah,
what?
no, what would be?
It was.
Demonstration.
Because I put,
That would be
Unbelievable.
I put state standards in, I would. To help people understand them, I will take, please put the Wisconsin state standard into language that students and that it's easily understandable to student. Stuff that would take us an hour and a half to break the standard down literally takes less than 2 seconds. And then it prints it all out, and then you can go and say, can you write me I statements and students under Erica Griedebeck they're doing rounding in the start today because she had an IEP meeting. She went on the whichever AI one she's using and said, please make me a worksheet with rounding to 10 to 100s for 3rd graders based on this standard. And it gave her to her 2 seconds later and she ran it off and she had it. And the things you can do with it, it's amazing.
Do we do any training on what, with staff though? Because I remember one of the things I went.
We
to
did a little
WSB,
bit.
a lot of options on what
Yep.
not to do and
Yep.
to make sure staff is trained and all
Yep.
that.
No,
stuff.
it basically right now I use it I use it for some stuff. Now are people using it for their stories and stuff? No, but it's a tool that
Yeah.
can save a lot of time.
Right.
But even assessments and stuff, I didn't mean to bring, I was joking, but you could do that, actually do it right here. Yeah.
There are so many different tools, and so many things to be aware of about what each tool and how it can fail you, and the need for the value of the value. So this can't remember.
I'm glad to see you guys are getting involved. So.
Yeah, so
I know you
more
have been for a
training,
while,
and I
but
did,
yeah.
I've been seeking, trying to get, I have heard this UW-Madison speaker on AI, and I've been trying to get him because they do offer those events, and I was hoping that in January for in-service, I could bring someone. But struggling to make connections there. But I did, I mean, they're all over, like even using AI to help you find. I did connect. Yeah, I did connect with this gentleman. He's kind of his master's is in AI. And I could call him up. We did a Zoom meeting, and so he just kind of shared his perspective too. And he leads a lot of school districts in policy and guidelines and what to be aware of and kind of the purpose about how we need to use. And he said how rapidly it's changing, like in 6 months it changes. And so yeah, just a lot of interesting conversations, but with this guy through CSED too, kind of offering the same things that this national guy that I had talked to. So just really bringing in an understanding of AI. So you feel good about it and knowing all the things to be aware of how it can impact negatively, you know, and the hallucinations, and sometimes GPT doesn't have accurate information, you know, but Lisa had me on one, the Today Google one. And that one, you bring specific documents into this Google site. Have you used that, Google LMS? And so then it's more accurate because it's only using documents that you bring in. But yeah, it's the support that it could bring, and the tutor perspective is, there's a role, but we just need to do it right, I guess.
So in 1 month, we'll all be experts.
Yes, well, I'll bring
Thanks.
something. Yeah, that's right. You'll leave with more questions and answers, I think.
Was that it?
Yes, that's it.
Principal reports?
I can go ahead.
All right.
Parent teacher conferences, were a week, 2 weeks ago. Seemed like we had a lot less people than normal, but we actually ended up with quite a bit more than we had the year before. So we had 281 conferences. That doesn't mean 281 people, but that was up about 75 from the year before. Winter sports have started, so which is amazing. The seasons have already gotten to that point, but we are here. So girls basketball started and wrestling, and boys basketball start next week. Janet hit on Veterans Day, but again, thanks to the music programs, I think it's a great thing for a community. And always just a great day. So thank you to the veterans and the music programs for helping that go smoothly. People had asked last month about the huddle. I talked to Kent, he said those prices were really pretty normal. They hadn't like taken a drastic increase. The other one I talked to Earl about was the bleachers, wondering if that was really the middle school bleachers, the high school bleachers, with Allison not being here. She hasn't really been able to look that up, and Troy's tried, but hasn't really found a great answer. But so I just want to get back to him, let you know. I think once she gets back, we can actually find that invoice and know. Next week, and people have maybe seen it, but our school resource officer, Willie Racer, will be coming and doing next week, and then a week in December, opioid training with the seniors to really kind of go through all of that. And we'll also kind of talk about, it's kind of a grant to step program that Vernon County is doing right now with just the seniors, but do we do that at some lower levels to start? And they really go through and spend some time that kids are aware with that element of things. They have done it in a couple other schools so far. It sounds like things have done really well. It's been really positive. So that will start next week. And the last one, again, kind of along with the music, or the music people, was just the musical. I don't know if people got to go or not, but it was great. They always do a fantastic job. And it's always great to see kids that, you know, sometimes don't do other things in school or other co-curriculars, and they get up on stage and it's kind of like, oh, that's not it's not the kid you don't normally know or see during the school day. And so
Parent.
that's
during the
always
week,
really
yeah,
good.
I asked about their son, and he talked about choir in particular, and how in the musical and that, how much they appreciated.
Right.
How it really helped.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what I have, unless anybody has any questions.
I have one, and I may have fallen asleep somewhere along the line. I didn't, do we actually have a school resource officer?
I shouldn't say we pay them, but he's, yeah, he's the,
We make use of it.
yeah, we don't pay them per se, but he's the person that goes to all the schools in Vernon County. So
Okay.
he's kind of here as
The
needed
county
and shows
funds
up.
that, and-
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's great.
So-
today.
The only other one, and Earl and I were talking about this, but was interesting, and we both heard it on the radio show WRCO this morning, but Wisconsin is the only state to not recognize Veterans Day as a state holiday.
Really?
Federal holiday.
Or it would be federal or state, because
It is a
it is a federal holiday. They're one,
Yeah.
but recognize it as a state day off, so to
And it's
speak.
been put before a couple, 3 times, but never got passed.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that. That was interesting.
Be a nice day to go hunting.
So
Anyway.
it would.
Then they'd have to make it a Monday. or
Yeah.
something.
Perfect. Booster Club had a Halloween party, was well attended. A number of parents came in for that. Our Books for Breakfast is always very well attended. That was on the first Friday of the month. We have one coming up in December. So a couple of little things we do that get people in here that are very happy to be here, that I think has a huge payoff for how the community sees us. We've had a number of people drop off coats, snow pants, and gloves. We had one family who wants to remain anonymous drop off 250 pairs of mittens that I put in bags in everybody's room. So she apologized for not being like snow mittens, but they're cloth mittens, and it's somebody when they forgot, they've got something to grab onto. And a number of people, it's hard to believe, is that time of year have reached out for Christmas giving. So we've collected, Katie and has a spreadsheet that's so sent out to families who are in need. And then they put their kids' names and interests and sizes and stuff. And Richland Hospital has already reached out. I think the Booster Club's going to do again. We had a family call that just wanted to sponsor a family. Ron Gun Club, Ron Gun in Westby, I'm sure will do it again. It helps that they're Katie's in-laws. So that started, and we're starting to collect names. It'll be here before you know it.
I should add one thing if I can interject, but
Okay.
I'm not sure. Sheriff Roy came and did a press conference. I think
Oh, yeah.
that was this month,
Yeah.
but so I should mention that. The sheriff is a very supportive of our community.
Can I admit something?
Yes.
As a parent, this is hard for me to admit, but I saw a picture of my son. So the topic he was discussing was the increase in students passing buses illegally.
Not just student, anybody.
Yeah.
And I saw my son shaking the sheriff's hand very serious, like he agreed. He got ticketed for that a year ago.
No wonder.
Why did he choose Ireland? Any questions, thoughts, comments for Kim, Aaron, Andy?
Definitely, yeah.
All right, we'll move on then to convene the closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, paragraph 1, part C. Considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The purpose is an insurance request. I'll entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to convene the closed session.
One second.
Motion by Earl, second by Bo, and we will vote. It's a roll call,
Earl Wallace.
Yes.
Janet Mathis.
Yes.
Bo Schrader.
Yes.
Isaac Wallace.
Yes.
Scott Walter.
yes. No motion. We have no motions coming out of closed session, so the only motion to adjourn by Isaac, second by Bo.
My bow trader, yep.
To adjourn, thanks, everybody.
Oh, wow. I haven't finished in it. Yeah.